Recently, Sigma announced 3 brand new mirrorless lenses to come out this year in 2019. Today, we have arguably the coolest one, the Sigma 35mm f1.2, and we're going to take it out for a spin. The Sigma 35mm 1.4 has been a popular prime lens choice for DSLR as well as mirrorless users. It boasted high quality optics, great low light performance, and it was at a really attractive price point. Now it's awesome to see that Sigma have stepped up that 35mm with the brand new 35mm 1.2, and what I want to see is what the difference is and how much better it is to justify its doubled price tag. Now let's talk about the specs and features of the lens. To start off, the lens has an aperture range of f1.2 to f16, giving you a versatile range for control in depth of field and low light performance. To back it up, it has a 11 rounded blade aperture diaphragm just to give you nice smooth bokeh results. The construction of the lens has 17 elements and 12 groups, and within those you've got 3 spherical elements, 3 extra low dispersion elements, and 1 double-sided element where they all work together to basically combat against spherical aberrations, distortions, and basically give you a sharper image. In terms of weather sealing, the lens is completely weather sealed. At the front element, there is a water and oil repellent coating just to help combat against bad weather conditions. And finally, it's got a hypersonic motor, like in any other Sigma Art lens, to give you a nice fast and quiet autofocus experience. Now I'm going to talk about the design of the lens. The first thing is the 35mm 1.2 is available in 2 mounts currently. The first is the L mount, which is used in the Leica SL and the Panasonic S series cameras. And secondly, it's available in the Sony FE mount as well. I've also been told that the lens can have a interchangeable mount, which you can just take the lens out to Sigma to interchange between the two. I'm not sure about availability in certain regions, but I'm sure more information on that will be released later on. Now to talk about the actual physical construction of the lens, like any other Sigma Art lens, it is definitely a heavy lens. It weighs just over 1 kilo, so it's not going to be the lightest lens that you're going to be carrying around in your kit. Now on the Panasonic S1, it feels like they're both the same weight. The camera's about 1 kilo, the lens is about 1 kilo, so it's reasonably distributed. Now if you were to chuck this lens on the Sony A7, for example, it will definitely be a more front heavy setup. Now to assist with that, we'd recommend getting a grip for your camera just so it feels a lot more balanced in your hand when you're using it. Now going through the actual grip on the lens, it feels really nice. It's well rubberized, nice and wide, has a good resistance to it, so you can use it for video if you choose to. And speaking of video, there is a aperture ring on the lens, which you can click around and de-click so you can have a smoother transition between your aperture values. And lastly, below the autofocus and manual focus selection switch, you have a gigantic AFL button, which is a programmable button that you can use to change a variety of settings or lock your autofocus. Now I'm going to talk about my pros and cons of the lens. So to start off, the image quality of the Sigma 35mm 1.2. As expected from any other Sigma Art lens, the 35 1.2 is exceptional. The image quality on the lens is super sharp. You get great performance in the center and really good performance edge to edge, which I'm really impressed about. In terms of color fringing, the 35mm 1.2 does not suffer the same problems that the 35mm 1.4 did. There's basically no color fringing at all, and if there is, it's very, very minimal. In terms of bokeh, the bokeh looks fantastic, and especially now that you can open up to f1.2, you do get a more dramatic degree of separation. The bokeh balls look quite good, just like it did in the 1.4 version. In terms of flaring, it does pretty well to combat against that as well. And overall, the lens is just optically pretty damn good. There is one big issue with the Sigma 35mm 1.2, and that is the vignetting that is present when you're shooting wide open. Now you'll see it later on in our image sample segments, but there is some apparent vignetting when you are shooting the lens out wide. At this point in time, there really isn't a profile correction available yet. but it should come in a future update, which with a click of a button should fix the vignetting issue. Now, secondly to that as well, although it's not really a complaint from myself, but I know some people will definitely be complaining about the weight of the lens, as yeah, it is pretty heavy like any other Sigma Art lens. It's pretty understandable though, as it can open up to f1.2 and it does have a pretty large filter thread at the front, and it is jam-packed with a lot of elements and glass in the lens. So if you are looking for a lens to travel with, this might not be the ideal one and you're better off going with the 1.4. However, if you are looking for that premium optical image quality, then the weight will not be an issue for you in this regard. So just doing a quick sharpness test whilst we were outside, as I mentioned earlier, you do get pretty apparent vignetting when you open the lens up to f1.2 or even at f1.4. However, at f1.4, it is at a minimum. Now, speaking of center sharpness and edge-to-edge sharpness, when stopping it down to f2.8, you get pretty good performance throughout the frame. And even though you don't get the best sharpness throughout the frame at f1.2, the photos still look fantastic with really good center sharpness and just slightly softer edges. So to answer my question, is the Sigma 35mm 1.2 worth buying since it is double the price tag of the 35mm 1.4? In my opinion, I 100% agree that it is definitely worth going for. Even though it is double, it is really only around the $2,000 Australian price mark, and for a lens of this optical quality, and for the features it houses, such as the autofocus lock button, as well as the declicking on the aperture range, I think this lens is pretty good bang for your buck, and you get exceptional quality. Now, if you're not gonna go for the higher end 35mm lenses in the Sony, for example, as for the 1.4, or in future when they possibly release this lens for the Canon and Nikon mount, it looks to be quite an attractive option. Now, you're gonna get some awesome edge-to-edge sharpness, great center sharpness, and all-round amazing bokeh performance. So 100%, this is definitely the lens for you to go for if you're looking for a good 35mm prime lens. Now, if you have any questions on the lens, pop them in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, as well as our blog so you stay up to date with our latest events as well as what's going on in the store. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future updates as we upload videos weekly.